purpose of Freethought Forum is to be vigilant to the encroachment of religion into government and to educate the general public as to what a freethinker is.
My thoughts give me power.
No scholar can map them.
No hunter can trap them. No person can deny. Die Gedanken sind frei. No person can deny. Die Gedanken sind frei.
Hi, my name is Robert Keller. I'm your host today. It's likely you haven't seen my face on TV before, unless you watch America's Most Wanted. I'm kidding. Anyway, today we're going to talk about atheists as scapegoats. It seems we get blamed for everything from school shootings to bad pizza. Today I have a guest. Her name is Sally Chizek. You might have seen her on this show before. She's my lifeline in case I get stuck. And first of all, I have a quote for you that you'll see at the end of the show. It's called Religious Truths. There are 3 religious truths. 1, Jews do not recognize Jesus as the Messiah. The second religious truth is Protestants do not recognize the Pope as the leader of the Christian faith. And the third religious truth is Baptists do not recognize each other in the liquor store, adult bookstore, or at Hooters. Thank you.
Yeah, I like that.
See, we are freethinkers. Freethinkers is an umbrella term we use to designate various people. We have atheists, agnostics, secular humanists, skeptics. And we use freethinker. We kind of like that term. And I have a definition for you. A freethinker is one who forms opinions and makes decisions independently of authority, superstition, or tradition. Pretty neat, huh? Anyway, you see I have a lot of paper. I'm not the best extemporaneous speaker in the world. So I have a lot of information here that we're going to talk about today. I want to talk about atheists as scapegoats. We get all the blame. We're so maligned. We've done everything wrong. Everything that's wrong with the world is our fault. Yet we only comprise about 10% of the population. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about that a little bit later also. But right now I have a top 10 list for you, actually 2 top 10 lists, with my apologies to David Letterman. I don't have any pencils or papers to throw, so here goes. Top 10 reasons people think a person is an atheist. Number 10, drum roll please. Number 10, you didn't like what God told you to do. Number 9, you just want to worship Satan. 8, some Christian must have offended you. 7, Satan has blinded you to God's truth. 6, you have rejected God so long he has hardened your heart. 5, you are mad at God. 4, you must not have ever read the Bible. 3, you have not prayed for God to reveal His truth to you. 2, you have never just believed, quote, on faith. And the number 1 reason people think a person is an atheist, you just want to lead a life of sin.
And Robert, I just want to throw something in there. The devil certainly is not our myth. It belongs to the Christians.
Yes, we didn't make that up.
Yeah, yet they're always, putting us in the same category as Satan.
Right, and Satan came from their teachings.
From their own religion, not ours.
So they started that. We didn't.
They did.
I have another top 10 list. Top 10 actual reasons a person may be an atheist. 10, all holy books are full of error, contradiction, and the writings of men. 9, there is no significant difference between the tall tales of the Bible and the tall tales of other mythology. 8, the Bible God is a monster, not deserving of any adoration or worship. 7, the Bible God is a self-contradiction. Think about that one. 6, the cosmos can be explained by natural processes. 5, you have read the Bible. 4, there are no answers to prayer. 3, belief on faith is irrational. 2, It is liberating to live without fear of invisible spirit beings judging you or setting traps for you. And finally, the number one actual reason a person may be an atheist: no evidence, no belief. So we're going to talk today about how we get blamed. And now it seems in the media and everywhere you look, people you ask, most people seem to have some sort of a hatred toward atheists. Like what did we do? Anyway, there are polls, for instance, a Gallup poll here. Gallup began asking Americans about their willingness to vote for individuals with various demographic and religious characteristics over 60 years ago. And they found that being an atheist, unlike most of these other characteristics, is still not widely acceptable to the American public. Imagine that. The latest poll shows only 49% of Americans would vote for an atheist for president, though I think it's probably lower than that, making this the most discriminated against characteristic of the 8 tested in the research. Even homosexuals, the second most discriminated against group, rated significantly better than atheists. And we're at the bottom of the pile now. We're the last minority. You can't get any lower than us, according to the thinking of most Americans. And
would you say that there's many atheists, like in government, senators, or?
If they are, they're closet atheists. I believe that they show piety to become popular. They tell people they believe when in actuality they probably don't. I would find it hard to believe that they're all as pious as they say they are.
Well, there's a lot of Christians that say that they're being persecuted because of the laws that were passed by atheists, and yet I don't think we have any power whatsoever.
No, tell me about persecution.
Yeah.
Show me persecution against Christians. I'd like to see it.
I mean, maybe in other countries, but certainly not here.
I mean, they do everything.
And we don't make the laws. They say we pass laws, atheists pass laws, so they can be persecuted. And I can't believe that at all. And I don't see how anyone that has a bit of sense can believe that. We have absolutely no power.
Like kicking God out of schools. We kick God out of schools, but how do we do that? We organize prayer, but which God would they be praying to? If someone else, a Muslim or a Buddhist, wanted to offer a prayer in school, they wouldn't be allowed to.
No,
and
because everybody would say we can't relate to that. We're Christians, and which brings up a good point also about the Madalyn Murray O'Hair being blamed for kicking prayer out of school, but hers was not the first suit. The first one was, and I can't remember the name, but it was something like shrimp. Does that kind of
familiar? Shemp?
Yeah,
Shemp.
not shrimp.
Shemp, I believe.
Yeah, don't get hungry now.
Shemp, like one of the Three Stooges.
something like that. But she gets she didn't mind taking all the credit for that. She didn't mind at all.
No,
but, you always hear about that big bad atheist kicking prayer out of school.
Right, and nobody mentions that the kids can pray anytime they want to anyway.
They certainly can, and they can pray before they come to school. If they want to pray aloud, they can do that. Now, after school or at night with their parents, they can pray anytime. And they can also pray at school. You don't need to say it aloud. You can say it in your head. You can say it before your meals. It's just that they want to get that organized prayer, over the microphone and get everybody involved in it. And I don't know why. Religion should be a private thing.
That's another thing. They talk about being persecuted, but they talk about being persecuted when they can't force their religion on everyone else.
Yeah, true.
That's part of that persecution, I reckon.
Right.
And other people, a former president, George Bush, had some nasty things to say about atheists.
Oh, yeah. What did he say?
I have the quotes here. And
okay.
The following exchange took place at the Chicago airport between Robert I. Sherman of American Atheist Press and President George Bush on August 27, 1987. Sherman is a fully accredited reporter and was present by invitation as a member of the press corps. The Republican presidential nominee was there to announce federal disaster relief for Illinois. The discussion turned to the presidential primary. And Mr. Sherman says, "What will you do to win the votes of Americans who are atheists?" President Bush says, "I guess I'm pretty weak in the atheist community. Faith in God is important to me." Sherman says, "Surely you recognize the equal citizenship and patriotism of Americans who are atheists?" President Bush, "No, I don't know that atheists should be considered as citizens, nor should they be considered patriots. This is one nation under God." And I'm sure we've heard that a little bit too much.
Yeah, we've heard that. That myth, that's another myth. But if the president, who's supposed to represent everyone, feels that way, what chance do we have of just getting the respect that we need?
That's
and
part
that
of
we
why
deserve. We deserve respect. We're just plain old ordinary people. I mean, how many people have you killed lately, Robert? Well, I haven't killed any.
I haven't either.
Okay.
And that's important too, because that's a reason why I wanted to do this show, is because we have no other voice anywhere. We might be able to write letters to the editor of the newspapers. We might, what else can we do? That's just about it, really.
And
we
we can
have
write
this
to officials,
community
yeah.
access show.
Right.
And we can write to our legislators and such.
Yeah.
But
And they can
otherwise,
just ignore us.
in the mainstream media, we have no voice whatsoever. We're not allowed to speak. We're not even allowed to take out 30-second TV commercials to explain what atheism and free thinking are. So this is important. This is just about the only voice that we have. And if people would participate, write more letters, get involved, maybe we can turn that around, and maybe we can have more of a voice in the politics and the media and so forth.
And speaking about not getting TV time, didn't that happen to the producer of this show, Catherine Fahringer? Didn't she try to pay for some TV time, and she was turned down?
Yes, from what I understand, all the networks turned her down and would not air a 30-second spot, a 60-second spot. Not even at night, during the infomercials. Anyway, as we move along, we are blamed for everything, but are we really to blame? What have we really done to harm society? And as far as that goes, I have that's stuff I pulled off the internet this morning, and I have several different golden rules that came out before Christianity. Here, there's some from 650 BCE, 500 BCE, 464 BCE, and they go up. And that idea had been around long before anyone probably ever even thought of a monotheistic God. And also on the internet, I found on the www.infidels.org, that's the site for the Freedom From Religion Foundation. That's right, the Freedom From Religion Foundation, which is something that's important. And it says there's empirical evidence in the form of research studies that prove you don't need religion to behave morally. From the Psychology of Religion, an empirical approach by Hood, Spilka, Hunsberger, and Gorsuch, in reference to Lawrence Kohlberg's studies on the moral development of children, quote, Kohlberg is very clear that moral and religious development are quite separate and that the two should not be confused. For example, he has suggested that it is a fallacy to think that basic moral principles are dependent upon a particular religion or any religion at all. We have found no important differences in development of moral thinking between Catholics, Protestants, Jews, Buddhists, Muslims, and atheists. Other research by Gorsuch and McFarland and by Selig and Teller confirms Kohlberg's conclusion in this regard. And I would like to also speak about something in that regard. It seems that a lot of people think if you don't have a belief in a deity, that you also have no morals. Well, I'd like to refute that right now. You see, in this newspaper right here, this is Freethought Today, published by the Freethinkers, by the Freedom from Religion Foundation. There's an article here that talks about the prison population and the makeup of the prison populations. Now, the most percentage, I would say the most
The greatest
the greatest percentage of criminals of federal prisoners actually are Catholic, and I don't really have an explanation of why that would be. There's others. Protestant is 27.38% of the prison population. Now, this is information that came from the U.S. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Prisons census. It was on April 11th, 2000. There are all kinds of. Rastafarian has only 1.85%.
And what about atheists?
Atheists is actually less than 1%, 0.091% of the federal prison population. Now, what does that say? Does that mean that we're just good at not getting caught? Or does that mean that we actually commit less crime? Now, on a personal note, we have an organization here in town, in San Antonio here, called the Freethinkers Association of Central Texas, or FACT. And I know pretty much all the members of this group. I am the president. Anyway, just take a note like drinking. Very few of us drink alcohol. Very few of us, I think I'm the only one who smokes tobacco. And it's just mind-boggling how much the media seems to portray us as evil and satanic. And really, we're more moral than the religious are. So,
well, you know, speaking of the Catholics having the highest rate of prisoners, well, all the mafia, they're all Catholic, and certainly their morals, I think, should be questioned.
Well, that's true.
And see, they can, in their religion, they can do whatever they want to, and then all they have to do is confess, and they get off the hook. So it seems to me that, you know, they can do whatever they want.
True. And
you've seen prisoners mostly with the cross, you know, wearing the cross, or the Virgen de Guadalupe tattooed on their arms and so forth. And what are they in there for? You know, some heinous crimes.
Right.
So, and I would say most of the Latins are Catholic. So there's, you know, great population there.
And we really couldn't draw a conclusion that people are morally corrupt because of religion. It is actually, I believe, the other way around. I believe they are attracted to religion because they are morally corrupt. That seems to be a distinction. It doesn't really cause, and for instance, also with mental illness, you see a whole lot of people who are mentally ill also are religious, or also at least believe in God, spirits, angels, or whatever.
Yeah, who tell them to do bad things, yes.
Right, and it's not that the religion drove them crazy, it's that they were crazy in the first place, and that so they were attracted to the religion.
But of course they're not all morally corrupt. A lot of it is through fear. You fear the unknown, and so here somebody's going to tell you that, oh, don't worry about dying, because when you die you're going to go to a better place. So I think a lot of it is fear.
Right, and you can say that also about all of the religions that believe in an afterlife. Islam, for instance, I can't really think of too many others at the present time, that all kinds of unspeakable, horrible acts can be committed in this life, because you know after this life you're going to a better life, so you don't have to worry about what you do in this life.
Well, that sect in California that was going to go on the mothership, and they committed suicide.
The Heaven's Gate.
Yeah, Heaven's Gate.
Yes.
So there's a lot of, you know, people looking for their reward.
Right.
If they do the right thing, but evidently they're not, because they're in prison.
And it's so
So they're
sad
not
that
doing the right
there
thing.
is no reward after life. After life, that's it. And they will never get a chance to do it over or to make amends or anything. It's over with.
Yeah, they don't believe that. But you know how we would have been treated in Comfort, Texas, just because we are atheists. Just you say that word and they don't treat you the same.
Again, and it's not everyone. It's certain people, a few people.
Yeah, of course.
Like, for instance, in our group, we have a few people. Maybe I'm telling a little bit too much. We have a few people who do a lot of atheist activism and outreach. We also, among our opponents, have only a few people that say anything about us or try to stop us in any way. But among the general population, most people are indifferent. And we'd like to reach more of those indifferent people and show that actually it's better to be an atheist, better to be a freethinker.
Well, yes, that's why we are.
For instance, another thing is divorce rate. Now, this is not only that, but here's another article in Freethought today. Examples of the similarity of behavior between Christians and non-Christians. Now, this is from the Second Coming of the Church, page 6. It's a partial list. Now, those who have been divorced, among those who have been married, born-again Christians, 27% have been divorced. Non-Christians, 23%. Gave money to a homeless person or poor person in the last year. Born-again Christians, 24% of them have. Non-Christians, 34% have. Took drugs or medication prescribed for depression in the past year. Born-again Christians, 7%. Non-Christians, 8%. So you see, it's not everything.
Right. Well, you know, we have to clarify that too. We've got some atheists that are not, you know, high standards either. That,
sure, we have.
You know, we have some deadbeats and people that lie. You know, that's how you have in every organization.
Sure.
Yeah, you don't. You know, you're not all just goody two shoes.
That's something else too. Is atheists are a very varied group. We have all kinds of people. We have young people, old people, short people, tall people. You know how that goes. We have all the people. It's pretty much representative of the general population, except we don't believe in supernatural.
Who did you have in mind for short? Catherine?
Oh, I don't know. I have to think about that one.
Better watch that one.
I better watch out. And I wanted to thank our producer also, Catherine Fahringer, has been producing this show. And as I said earlier, we have no other voice, so she's doing a great thing for us, don't you think?
Yes.
And moving right along, also there in France, they also did studies of prisoners there. And they had a census in the prison, and according to the religious beliefs of the French criminals, Roman Catholics, there were 18,939. Jews, 130. Protestants, 598. Mohammedans, 53. Atheists, 0. Not one atheist in the prisons of France. Yet a single atheistic society of France numbers 20,000.
Oh yeah, they are high.
Yes, in Europe,
so you would
there's a
think
lot.
that they'd have more in prison, since they're in, you know, that's pretty high percent.
So perhaps it would be good if we adopt a state religion. Maybe more of us would be atheists. And there's other surveys all over the world showing the same type of figures, that atheists just don't seem to be the ones committing all the crimes, don't seem to be the ones in prison.
Yeah. Of course, during the Cold War, and when we had the communist nations that were godless, although, you know, they say that derogatorily, but that just meant that they were atheists, and not everybody was, I'm sure. But then you talk about a regime like Hitler, and he was an atheist. He was a Catholic.
Right, I have some information here also about that.
About Hitler?
Adolf Hitler, yes.
Yeah, and I don't think he was ever excommunicated from the Catholic Church.
I don't believe he was. It says, I got this information from, I believe, look it up real quick. Also from the same webpage, the infidels.org. Now, there's these myths all the time, and that's what these myths about atheists doing all the evil things. You know, they mentioned Joseph Stalin, for instance, and
Yes.
things like that. Now, that was actually the regime, the ideology that was causing a lot of problems over there, not the idea that he was an atheist. And Adolf Hitler was emphatically not an atheist. As he said himself, this is a quote, "The folkish-minded man, in particular, has a sacred duty, each in his own denomination, of making people stop just talking superficially of God's will and actually fulfill God's will and not let God's word be desecrated. For God's will gave men their form, their essence, and their abilities. Anyone who destroys his work is declaring war on the Lord's creation, the divine will. Therefore, let every man be active, each in his own denomination, if you please, and let every man take it as his first and most sacred duty to oppose anyone who in his activity by word or deed steps outside the confines of his religious community and tries to butt into the other." That's from Mein Kampf. It's a famous book by Adolf Hitler. There's just all kinds of things like this that.
But don't you hear sometimes people refer to Hitler as an atheist?
Yes,
I have. Yeah,
all the time.
I've heard that, and
It's
actually
one of
he
those
wasn't.
myths that see, he, you know, I suppose in many people's minds he would have to be because of the evil things that resulted from his
right. The evil things
power,
he did,
you know.
and he did it for his own religion.
Right, and you know, there's ideas that atheists believe in Satan. Here's something: atheists don't believe in any kind of supernatural divine being. They view Satan as being every bit as mythological and non-existent as God. Now, we have just a couple of minutes left. I would like to give you some information so you can find this and more on the internet. And also I have addresses and phone numbers. First of all, I would like to give you the address to the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And that's Freedom from Religion Foundation. You can abbreviate that FFRF. Inc. Incorporated, P.O. Box 750, Madison, Wisconsin 53701. And their phone number is area code 608-256-5800, and their website is www.ffrf.org.
And they put out an excellent newsletter that even if you were not atheist, I think you would enjoy.
Yes, it is. It's a great newspaper. There's also Atheist Alliance, which we are also a member of. P.O. Box 6261, Minneapolis, Minnesota 55406. www.atheistalliance.org. And also our group here in town, Freethinkers Association of Central Texas, P.O. Box 160881, San Antonio 78280-3081.
And where do you meet?
We have voicemail. We're presently meeting at the, I wish you hadn't asked me
Lady
that,
Bird.
Sally. Lady Bird Johnson Park, and out on Nacogdoches, and we're there every first and third Tuesday. Come see us.
I think as I please, and this gives me pleasure.
My conscience decrees, this right I must treasure.
My thoughts will not cater
To duke or dictator, no person can